Alright, ladies and gents, welcome back to another session of DFT with Ryuji. And here with me, this session around, we have actually three guests, but only two of them will actually be in the dungeon with me. First one to introduce is Ryugo Delamour. You'd say hi.
I don't.
Fiuura, Learoux, and the one that's on the sidelines in TS with us, but not running with us, is Metyn Aurea.
Okay.
Before we go along with our topic at hand and just our conversation as we run through the dungeon, I just want to say and a big thanks to all you guys who've been supporting me for. I just started this just like beginning of this week, and I'm already getting a lot of support from people from Reddit, people from Facebook, my social LS, 14 social, and I appreciate you guys. And this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you guys and all the other fans out there. Um, so please continue that support. Like and share, contribute. Even if you want to participate, please let me know. I mean, I know some people might be shy, but just contact me if you can. And then if you feel like you want to join in a future DFT, I already gave you guys my in-game name, and also I'm going to try to see if I could find another way of contact. But anyways, we're gonna do something a little different too for this episode. We're gonna try to get this random scholar here to see if he or she wants to join in this. So we're gonna attempt to see if we could get this person in our TS as well. So, and while I'm doing this, you guys can kind of just like introduce yourselves and just start talking, and then I will see if I can get the scholar to get in.
Would be pretty cool if we can get a random.
It would be. Alright, introductions. I am the Lalafell, Ryugo Delamour, with the pirate hat.
I am the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, please, no, go ahead.
I'm the
Just the
Makote
sub-guest.
there. Yep, I'm the Makote there. Summoner. That's about it.
I'm not even in the dungeon, I'm just happen to be in this channel. I guess I'll get my chance to shine on a separate session.
But yeah, so. I'm actually I'm not surprised, but you ended up picking Pharaohs after all.
Ooh, Pharaoh, serious. That actually is a pretty
Pharaohs.
fun dungeon.
I rather like Ferris ever since they made the changes to it.
Really, I kind of
Aw.
liked it when it was pre-nerf.
Unfortunately, the scholar is declining, but all the respect to him was kind of a sudden, probably just, she says he or she doesn't say they don't talk too much, so I'm going to respect their wishes.
Makes sense.
So anyways, the topic we're going to start with for this duty finder talk session today is apparently Ryugo has been doing a lot of experimentation with Chocobo Dying. I know that's like the big thing right now. People are really struggling to try to get their ideal color, and hopefully Ryugo here can give us some insight on that, because apparently he has done enough research in terms of at least getting a gist of how it actually works. So Ryugo, can you like enlighten us for that? Because I know a lot of people are struggling, not just me, but I've had a fair share of people who are complaining because they can't get their ideal color. What have you figured out so far?
Well, I've done a little bit of experimentation in going along my color branch. I haven't really delved into the others too much. I've gone a couple steps in other directions. I helped my sister get rose pink, colibri pink, that kind of little loop that they have, rather. But I have definitely got my branch down because my ideal color was going to be the black, of course. And going up through there, it's at first I had no idea what I was doing. I just ended up stuffing my chocobo with as many berries as I could possibly find. I had all the gardens full and I had no clue. But I did end up finding out a couple things, like you get a proc when you feed the berries. And say you feed the berries, say you feed the chocobo a couple fruits, but you don't get any message regarding feathers, you actually fed that chocobo for nothing, and it won't get a color change. It'll remain the same, and I had no idea, and that's true for any fruit. And I said there are.
So you're saying there's a certain threshold that you have to hit before you actually does any effect on your color using a different fruit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You'll get a message that your chocobo is growing new feathers, and that is the proc.
Now,
you're
is
just
there
kind of
any
feeding.
like is there a set number for that threshold, or does it vary depending on what kind of like for like different combinations, or is it always the same amount of like threshold? Like let's say you always gotta beat like 5 or something to get that.
Well, I'm definitely no expert on it. It's just what I've experimented with. However, each fruit, it seems, gives a random RGB value between, I think it's 1 to 20 is what I read. And so the threshold is based on your RGB. Because while your chocobos are limited to the dyes that are available in-game, cobalt brown, soot black, deep wood green, things of that nature, the RGB value are open. So once you pass that threshold to be within, say, ink blue, past the threshold, it will give you that message, but the RGB values are open, as I said.
Now, does it go like, you know how like there's different shades? Does it do you have to do it step by step? You have to like allow it to like, okay, let's say you hit the threshold, you hit the proc of you know moving it up or down the shade. Do you have to let it? You have to wait for that to switch, or can you continue to move up the shade ladder or whatever? How would you want to call it? Or is there?
You can keep feeding and getting procs and keep going along that path, and that's the way I like to view it, is that there's a set path of these thresholds. And you can keep feeding, but as you go along these paths, you will see junctions where you can turn off the path, and those are random. So like if you have a junction where feeding berries will give you the proc for 2 different colors, and it's just RNG which color you land on, then that it is just RNG. So if you feed multiple procs and it goes down the wrong path, then you're kind of stuck with that, you know?
No, so you're kind of saying it's still pretty much a gamble in terms of switching over to a different like shade of color.
Well, if you do it 1 proc at a time, then you can correct any mistakes. But
Okay.
it is a bit of a gamble. I like to do it, well, what I like to do when I'm going after soot black, since that's the one that I have the most experience in, is I like to just feed it as much blue as I can and max out that RGB.
That makes sense.
And then
Do you know how much
feed it
fruit
up
that
there.
is? Like set fruit?
I
Have you
honestly
figured out?
I think it's around 37 was when I when I stopped getting that proc message.
Okay, so every time you hit you move on to a different shade, it'll say like that little statement. Your chocobos are growing more feathers, because I'm still a little confused in how that actually works.
Not always. It's not the shades so much as just if you look at it like tiers or like platforms on the way up to your goal. So if I feed it berries, and it could take 1 berry, it could take 10 berries, it could take 20 berries, that would be 1 proc, and then I could give it another berry and get another proc. But it's not so much like I have to feed it the blues and then the greens and then the reds. You know, I could feed it blue and blue and blue and keep getting these procs.
Oh, okay. I kind of see where like how like you know that pattern goes. So that's interesting. Because me, honestly, I wanted Lotus Pink, but obviously it was like the second day of Chocobo Dying. I got it through sheer luck. I went Silk Green for some odd reason. I started feeding it random random berries, and then like the second feed session, I just somehow went from Silk Green to Lotus Pink, and I don't know what I did, but I was just happy that I got it because that's what I wanted. So mine was just sheer RNG luck. So. I wish I could explain how I did it, but I don't have no idea.
You gotta keep in mind also that while Ogamoro berries, I forget what the pears are called, Mamook pears, and the third one, apples. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that apple. But while those only increase their reds, blues, and greens respectively, the plums, the pineapples, and the valfruit, those are a little bit more complex. Like valfruit, for example, in our translation it says that it lowers, I believe it's green. Or we'll go pineapple, that's easier. Pineapples lower blue. but in other translations, it actually says that it lowers, I think it's purple. That's the right one, the red and green.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so
Is that like a
what it
direct
actually
Japanese
does-
translation?
Yeah, well, it's not just Japanese; it's also the French clients and German clients.
Oh, okay.
But and what it actually does, what the pineapple does, is it lowers the blue, but raises red and green value.
Okay, yeah,
So it
because
does have a
that makes
low
purple. Oh, oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of it this early on is luck. You can get into the mathematics of it, but it's not as simple as it may seem. You can't just stuff your chocobo with reds, blues, and greens until you max out the values and get SIP black. That's not how it works. SIP black is actually a value of, I believe it was 49, 37, and 37. Or I mean that's I have no idea why. That's just what I remember.
Like I've been after Celeste Green, and basically my chocobo has gone back and forth between Raptor Blue and Other Blue like 4 times now, and I cannot figure out why.
Raptor blue and orchard blue, or Othard?
Othard or whatever. I don't even know how you pronounce that.
Are you still feeding it blues? Because if I remember right, Raptor blue is the end of that path with the blueberries. From there, you should be feeding apples, and that would get you up to Abyssal blue. And well, what it would do is it would get Othard blue, Storm blue, Royal blue, Abyssal blue, and then that final red path would be Roland Berry red. And from there, you can actually go Delamour red.
I was trying to get to Celeste Green.
Celeste green. I don't think I passed that on my way up. Or if that's near turquoise green, then at Othard blue you should start feeding pears, and that would get you to turquoise green, and I believe Celeste green is close to there.
Yeah, I think it's Raptor Turquoise Blue.
So then I would, once you get to Othard blue, I would just start feeding it some pears.
That's what I was
maybe
doing,
give
and
it
then
some
like
plums.
that's when I started going back and forth. So I don't know, I'll give that a try then. The plums.
If I recall, like how I got my Lotus Pink at least, okay, initially, I got it by trying to get to Colibri Pink because apparently, early on they had that public spreadsheet. People were posting like what their finds were, and initially what I did was I randomly made my my Chocobo Sylph Green by accident. And then, so it's like, oh man, it's not the right color. And I looked up, and it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna try to get Colibri Pink. So, I assumed that, you didn't have to start from the beginning again from Desert Yellow. So I gave it the exact amount that we were supposed to give for Colibri Pink, because Colibri Pink was already found out, like, someone found a way to get to Colibri Pink from Desert Yellow, the stock color. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, I got Lotus Pink. So basically, I guess I did not know that you have to basically start from where your Chocobo currently is. And so that's how I got it by accident at least. I thought you could just be like, okay, I didn't get the color I want, so let me just, assuming your Chocobo's still starting at where Desert Yellow is, and then go from there. But actually, yeah, your Chocobo's still, like, Chocobo's color, you have to base the change from its current standpoint, right?
Yes, sir. It's like a path, and you can go up and down that path, but you always start off from where you left off. But a lot of people were actually having troubles with that. They were refeeding same colors, but they didn't get the color they wanted, and they ended up maxing their RGB values so much that they couldn't get anything but the end of the paths, and it either cost a very small fortune to get where they wanted or get anywhere from there, or they had to invest in a Hans Lemon to reset their Chocobo value.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have just been going like back to the beginning rather than going through trouble of, continuing from where they're at.
It's honestly, it's just safer to do it one proc at a time. It's going to take a very long time because that's a 6-hour wait every time. But, and I mean, I know, like, I am a lot of things, but patient is not one of them. So that's why I ended up stuffing my Chocobo as much as I could at the beginning. But it is definitely just a lot safer. Do it one step. That way you can correct any mistakes.
Well, since we're on the on the topic on chocobos, I think another thing that people are excited for, at least I personally am for sure, is they said they're going to implement chocobo racing. I was wondering, what are you guys' initial thoughts about them implementing chocobo racing and how it would potentially uh, be implemented? Like, I personally think it's going to be in the same patch as with when Golden Saucer comes in, and also Golden Saucer. While we're talking about it, what do you think it's actually going to be? Like, obviously, if you guys know anything about Final Fantasy, what Golden Saucer is, it's at least for me, I remember it. Is it a ongoing reference throughout the different Final Fantasy series? I know I remember from seven.
It's only in 7.
7, right? And it's like basically like a gamble house or a casino, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a large amusement park. Is actually really what more that it was referencing. You know, there was like a lot of different sections. There was mini games. There was like a haunted hotel section of it. I mean, it was an entire story arc in there, but essentially it was a super amusement park type of thing.
How do you feel like, I personally wonder how it's going to affect the economy, because you think if there's going to be any way to like earn a fair amount of money through it, any kind of exploits, you know, you think there'd be some kind of like big influence on that? I'm really curious. What would you guys think about?
I think it'll be a sink.
Like any kind of gambling is going to have to be very system regulated, I guess. Like, for example, on your topic of Chocobo Racing, for example, like they implemented Chocobo Racing in 11 back in the day, and a lot of people had a problem with it because it was really just almost purely RNG based. Like you could get your chocobos into higher tiers and, you know, train them so that they're more prone to winning, but you didn't physically control your chocobos. And obviously there's, you know, there's some reason for that. One is that I think they didn't want to have system lag become an issue when you're racing, because, you know, that was a thing in 11. It was that a lot of times you could tell when you're just like riding a chocobo along someone else. You could tell that people were in front of you, that, you know, you thought you were in front of them, but on their screen they're in front of you, just because of the delay between communications between two players. So I wonder if they're going to allow players to actually control their chocobos in this iteration, whether the latency is no longer going to affect it, or they're going to still make it a more automated process.
The latency is still there, and it's still pretty noticeable, but nowhere near as bad as it was in 11, so they might, but I won't be surprised if they don't.
The position checking in this game is still pretty bad. I mean, if anyone PvPs, that you would know straight out that it's pretty bad. And obviously, like, you're in the early release of this game, in the notorious Titan fight, people getting landslided off because they swear to God they're out of the telegraph, but they still get hit. So it has improved a lot, but there's still a slight. You could kind of tell there's still a small, you know, issue there.
And I wonder if that's going to affect, you know, in a racing type of thing where it's purely position based type of game. Will they allow players to race their chocobos by actually controlling them? I don't know about that. And then on top of that, like a lot of people, there was a lot of things that I remember reading a forum post where people were speculating about the ability to control your chocobos while you're racing, and I think the developer seemed positive on it initially, but
Actually, now that I think about it, we probably will see us being able to control our own chocobos, because they've actually talked about adding the snowboarding minigame that was like present in 7.
That's interesting.
The thing is, if snowboarding, where is there snow? Oh, never mind, I lied. There's Cortes. I was about to say, never mind. Oh,
like if they can make that work, I can see them making chocobos work.
How are they going to explain snowboarding in the lore? That's going to be kind of wacky, to be honest with you.
They've done some pretty fancy stuff with the lore, like with the lightning event. I don't think they could talk their way into it.
The lightning event fit oddly well.
Well, because Hyperion, right? It's a crystal made it all possible, right? Because they're trying to say that all like the crystals in each Final Fantasy is all linked together somehow.
If they're going the way that they said that they were going to, I heard it in a letter from the producer. It was actually really cool. They're gonna tie this in because we're getting the golden saucer with the Cetra, and from what I heard, I'm behind sound rather. From what I heard, the Cetra started here on Heidelin on Eorzea, and they were known then as the Allegan Empire. Well, from there, why the Allegan Empire just mysteriously kind of crashed is because they left the planet, landed on the Midgar area, did all the events that happened in Final Fantasy VII, and then from there moved on into Earth, which from Earth, wars went down, and the remaining alive fled to a shell planet, and the two entities became known as Pulse and Cocoon.
Well,
Wow. That's wow.
And that would explain why we've got Final Fantasy 13 mobs in Coil of that nature. And so I thought that all that tie-in would really stick with that.
like,
Because-
is this speculated, or is this like some developer posted this?
I believe it was Bahoini, if that's the developer's name.
Oh,
one that usually does.
the translator.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But-
believe it was a post by him.
It is interesting when you just brought up that, like, yeah, basically, like, hey, we're fighting dreadnoughts that are exactly in. I don't know if they're a classic Final Fantasy mob, but it's fairly similar to, 13 mobs.
The Dreadnoughts, basically any of the robot mobs we found, the bugs, the Dreadnoughts, the Knights, the Soldiers,
All
all
their
of these are
models
directly
are
ripped
yep,
from
all
Final
the
Fantasy
models
13.
are picked up straight from 13. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is the Auramans that are in 14 and the Auramans that are in 13. The 14 design team made those for, well, the 14 design team made the ones in 13, and the 13 design teams made the one in 14.
That's pretty cool.
But do you think are they gonna? Is it due to like lore? Is it influenced by lore, or is it just because they're just saving money by using the same models from different games?
I think a big part of it was that the teams were pretty close and they were both working on Final Fantasy games at the same time in development. So, like, that's also, I think, part of why they added the Lightning costume the Makote costume to Lightning Returns. Like, if I remember right, it was just one of the artists decided to mock it up and they thought it was funny and decided to put it in the game.
Yeah, I thought that would just be like marketing or something, just like, hey, 14's coming out, you should buy it, you should try playing it. I didn't think
I
is
don't
good.
think they're gonna make it so that it's like really to be lore specifically delved into, because I mean, like, obviously there's gonna be a lot of audience out there who aren't involved in the 13 storyline. To delve too deeply into that, I think would actually be like a turn off for some of the players.
For the 7 to 13, or 7 to 14 kind of lore?
No, from like 13 to 14 kind of lore. Like, obviously, I mean, I think it's very obvious that they're going to keep referencing a lot of other Final Fantasies, but I wonder how seriously they're going to take the transition when the elements cross over. Like, are they really going to try to make sure that it all connects, or are they just going to kind of, make it a little loose and a little easier?
I could see that
digest.
becoming a mess really quickly to keep track of everything throughout the games.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's going to be give and take with that, because like the 11 crossover that they did was a really bad crossover. I mean, the Black Mage coming over from a different dimension, like...
Well, that's the
That's-
same as
no,
the 13 one. Like,
The
it's
13 one-
it's the easiest when you say it's coming in from another dimension, right? Like,
Well, it
I
being
suppose, but the
Shantodo,
13
it
happened in
kinda
our
worked.
universe. Sorry?
I mean, I guess, but like, until you told me this, I didn't know that was the case.
Like, if I remember right, there's like a big post. It was all like speculation, more or less, but there's a lot of talk of this, of what Eorzea currently is, being like the precursor to what led to 12. Like, a lot of the legend stuff like that you hear about in it are things that are happening now in the game.
Never actually played 12, so I'm a bit in the dark on that. It's one of the only ones I haven't played.
Oh, it's a good game. A lot of people hate
replay
it, but
it's been a
I'm a
long
big fan.
time.
A lot of people hated 13, but it's one of my favorites.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'd say
I'm one of them.
13 2 like redeemed that series for me. I've not played Lightning Returns though.
Really?
Lightning Returns is very good. It's very good. The ending is, and the ending. Okay, this might be a bit of a spoiler if born. The ending would rather make what I said about the Cetra coming over and all that would make a lot more sense to you. I guess it's not a spoiler, but whatever. But yeah, it's a fantastic series. They wrapped it up very well.
Weren't the Cetra the ancients in Final Fantasy VII?
Yes.
Isn't that what they call them? Okay.
Yes, they were. And if you remember from Final Fantasy VII, the bulk of the Cetra stayed behind, but there were those that left. And that's where survivors went, quote unquote, if this is to be held true.
God, man, we just got caught in this, and unfortunately, we've overstayed our welcome in this dungeon. Before we go, I just want to give you guys, I just want to give a great thanks for Fiuura coming back, because I know he kind of was a surprise guest in a couple of sessions back, and he was.
I was in the general area tonight.
And also I want to thank Ryugo for participating as well. I know we've kind of, this session was kind of like all over the place compared to other ones, but if there's any thoughts, any comments you guys want to add down below in the comment section about what we talked about today, honestly, I'm really interested. Maybe also Ryugo and Fiuura would be interested too to see what your thoughts are, what we talked about last night. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And also thank you, Met, for kind of being on the sidelines and adding any additional input that you had. Again, this thing is, I'm trying to keep this whole project community driven. So, you guys' participation, I do appreciate you guys taking your own personal time to join in on this session. So, thank you so much, guys. It was fun as always. And again, till next time. Any last statements? Any final thoughts, Fiuura and Ryugo?
It's just a pleasure to be here. So thank you for the opportunity.
I'm just surprised we didn't wipe in Pharaoh series at some point.
Honestly, I thought we were gonna die on the first boss because I was not paying attention.
Oh, I wasn't at that either.
Alright, ladies and gents, till next time.